watching Rogers TV.
Rogers TV North Durham Kawartha acknowledges that we are situated on the Mississauga lands and the traditional territory covered by the Williams Treaties. We are grateful for the opportunity to work here, and we thank all the generations of people who have taken care of this land for thousands of years. We also recognize the contributions of Métis, Inuit, and other Indigenous peoples, both in shaping and strengthening this community and country as a whole.
The opinions expressed in the following programs are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect those of Rogers Cable or Rogers TV.
Welcome to Modern Business, the show that bridges the gap between the viewer and the entrepreneur or market maker. I'm your host, Taylor Bursey, and today we are joined by Kim Herrier of Mapleworks Designs, specializing in custom wooden pieces. Here to talk all about her business is Kim. Welcome to the show, Kim.
Thanks, Taylor.
What is Mapleworks Designs in your own words?
Mapleworks is handcrafted specialty decor, home decor. It's furniture, it's charcuterie boards, it's shelves, but everything is built with love and care. And the main goal is to have the family, the laughter surrounding one of my pieces.
Wow.
Yeah.
And how did you get started in this?
Well, I took woodworking in high school,
Okay.
and I loved it. There was only one other girl, myself, in the classes, and we had a great time all through school. And then in 2015, I got an office job, and all of a sudden I had weekends. And so I had to pick up a hobby. I started doing some woodworking again, and the hobby turned into a side hustle. And then it turned into a full-blown business in 2020.
Wow.
Yeah.
So this is a semi-recent scale into a full-time career for you.
Absolutely, yes. Yeah.
Now, you said that you were doing woodworking in high school, then you kind of picked it up. Did you take any additional certification or training courses to learn how to make this stuff, or how did you?
No, I didn't after high school. I kind of put it in my past.
Okay.
And then once I started having weekends again and more free time, then I started getting into YouTube and Instagram and taking some courses online, that type of a thing, and just really trying, if I saw something I wanted to make, I would make it and then give it to a friend or a family member.
So talk us through the first piece that you created. How did you know what to do and what to use or what you were going to make?
Did you ever see those Pinterest wine racks that were made of pallets?
Yes.
So that was that. I managed to score a pallet from somewhere, I won't say where, and threw the back of the car, and just I saw the picture of it and thought, okay, I can do that, and cut it to size, sanded it, and I hung it up the next day.
Now, you make it sound so easy, but for example, I don't have the materials to cut it to size or do any of that. So did you have to decide, oh, I'm going to invest in this stuff, or did you have someone in your life who had the materials? Did you have the materials? How does it work?
So I had some already from when I did it in high school there, but then I was all over Facebook Marketplace and picked up a lot of secondhand tools and started out that way. And some of them, they lasted quite a long time, and then it was nice to actually find them, be able to upgrade to brand new stuff. But
so when you transitioned into a full-time business in 2022, was that when you were like, okay, this is real, let me invest in the business?
Absolutely, that was a big difference. In the last year, everything has kind of changed in my shop, and from cabinets to new benches, definitely better saws and everything and tools. Yeah.
So take us to the moment when you were in 2022 deciding, I'm going to leave my corporate 9-to-5 job, if you will, with my weekends free to pursue my side hustle as a full-time career. Did you sit down and make a business plan of how you were going to do this, or what was your process into transitioning?
So this was not planned at all.
Okay.
Yeah, it was right before before the world shut down, pre-pandemic, and I was not in the office, and it was the time to, do I really want to follow this career, or should we take the step? So I just went full force.
Okay.
Yeah, and I just started taking orders. I opened up custom orders. I started out doing a lot of the Jenga sets, the oversized Jenga sets.
Cool.
Just because it was right in time for spring and summer. And then I started, taking more furniture pieces, orders for that. And but there's no plan to go full time by any means.
No plan. So when you say taking orders and stuff, did you create a website to take orders? Were you doing this on social media? How were you sourcing?
So I already had Instagram that I started back in 2016 when I started, and then in May of 2020 I got a friend to build a website for me. It was very, very simple. You couldn't buy anything, but you could at least contact me. I had an email address, and then it was just word of mouth. You know, I did a lot of orders for friends and would ask them, you know, if you know anybody, can you send them my way? And it just, it kind of snowballed from there. Yeah.
So let's talk about the snowball effect, because obviously when you started out, it sounds like you started out pretty simply. You gathered the materials you needed, you created items, and then you sold them to family and friends. Now I see items with labels on them. I see a website that has a little bit more of a refined online shopping presence, you know. What was that journey like for you?
At first it was really hard because you try and do everything yourself. And you always think, oh, I can do that. And then when you get into something like building a website, a good website, no, you can't do that. If you know somebody that does it, hire a professional. It takes so much off of your plate, and then it runs itself, which is a huge, huge relief.
And would you say that outsourcing something like your website and the marketing materials is the scariest step in this journey versus the trial and error of the...
Absolutely, because you're spending money.
Right.
And you're spending money on something that you're not actually sure, like, will it pay off, and will it pay off right away? Yes, paying for that Shopify account will pay off pretty quickly, and it's so much easier when you can show, you know, a portfolio to customers, when you can direct them to, okay, well, here's this area on the website that you can go and see past projects.
Right.
Yeah.
And when you transition from being a small side hustle to a full-time business and you introduce e-commerce, what was that like for you in terms of maintaining inventory and really crafting your niche?
It's always a struggle. Maintaining inventory is a struggle. I always try and build up and have at least a steady few items in stock, and then there's always markets too, so you always build items for that, and then they can go onto the website. But as for, you know, tables, there was a time in my life where I personally had 3 coffee tables, and I had one room, one living room, and, you know, so then different family and friends, oh, here's a coffee table, can you hold that for a little bit?
Right.
Until, you know, you find the perfect buyer for that way. So.
And so now with the demand and the inventory, what does your operation look like today?
Thankfully, it's a lot more organized.
Okay.
Yeah, my time management has definitely, I took courses on that, so it's definitely stepped up its game, and that's been a lifesaver too. So it's, you know, a process of whether they come through the website or they contact me directly, everything is funneled through a streamlined ordering system so that I can get what they're looking for, their budgets, and then I can fire them back with some questions or a quote right then and there, like within 24 hours.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So then when you're creating this inventory, I'm assuming you're probably creating in advance, anticipating orders. Do you now have a warehouse that you keep all this stuff in, or are you still kind of shuffling things off to family and friends?
A bit of both. I do have a storage unit, absolutely. Okay. I have that for stock for future orders as well. So there are some slabs and everything tucked away, and then I do have some finished product too that are scattered around Durham and Mount Albert.
And then, you know, when you sell something on your e-commerce site, so-and-so has it over there, and you have to go pick it up. I
have a lot of like really tall shelves in the basement, so I've got them organized, but bigger pieces, tables, they're scattered around. So, yeah.
So talk us through the process of the sourcing of, I guess, materials for your products. Are you working with preferred vendors now? Are you sourcing wherever you can get it? How does that process work?
So I have a few vendors that I go to on a regular basis, like for slabs, whether it's for charcuterie slabs or if it's coffee table or dining table slabs. I deal with them on a regular basis, and I found them from, I've gone to all the places in Southern Ontario just to check them out, and, you know, if I find a place I like and I really like the staff that are there, then I'll try and stick with them.
Okay.
So then, what I'll do is sometimes if there's a good sale, then I'll bring them home and put them in the storage unit, so then at least I have some options already ready. Okay. Because it can be time consuming to, you know, okay, well, I'm going to go shopping online for this and look over here, and unless you're driving around, you can't really get a really good idea of the slabs themselves. right?
Right.
Yeah.
So when you source these slabs and you get this inventory, does that then dictate the type of product you make, or are you really made to order whatever somebody wants, you'll create it?
So I always say, you know, people always ask, can you make it? Yes, I can. Absolutely. Okay. I always see things, and friends are always sending me stuff. Hey, can you make this? Yes, I absolutely can. And then that's what dictates where I go, whether it's, you know, live edge stuff or dimensional stuff from a lumber mill. Then I can go to those specific locations.
And what is the difference between something that's live edge and something that's dimensional?
Right, so live edge, you're looking at this. So we've taken off the bark.
Okay.
Oh, sorry. We've taken off the bark, and we've left, again, it's the curved and natural edge of the wood. Whereas dimensional stuff, you'll see it's very straight edges. You'll see like cutting boards.
Okay.
That's really common. That's where you'll go to a lumber mill.
So the cutting board to my right here would be something that's more dimensional because it has the straight edges?
It is now, but that is a piece of live edge that's in there and then cleaned up with epoxy.
Okay.
Yeah.
And when did you start dabbling in epoxy?
I probably started in 2017, and it was a mess. You can get all these types of molds and everything now, but back then I grabbed some Betty Crocker baking tins from the dollar store and was putting my wood in there and pouring epoxy because it's non-stick.
Okay.
It definitely stuck, and you know, I would hit it with a hammer, and sometimes it didn't come out. So I've definitely come very, very far on that aspect.
Trial and error.
Absolutely. Start small and then you work your way up.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Especially when you're getting tins from the dollar store and thinking, this is going to be my next great masterpiece.
Absolutely.
But it definitely takes confidence in your craft and a drive to want to do that, to make it happen. So kudos to you for that.
Yeah,
that ambition is very, very cool.
Thank you.
And have you ever considered creating content to show other woodworkers or people like yourself how you do it?
I do a little bit on Instagram. I would like to do more, but it's just having that dedicated time because, as you know, creating content is very time consuming.
Of course.
So that isn't the plan in the new year, is to at least have one day in the shop where that's all I'm doing is creating content. Because again, it is great to be able to help someone that's back at that Betty Crocker baking tin stage.
Sure.
Yeah.
And also for your own brand, having your face associated with the brand, it just helps people feel more connected to your pieces because at the end of the day, this is your art. It's a different form than maybe what somebody else is putting out, but it's still art. Yes. So having the face connected to the product is something that you can't match, right? So with that, and this being your art, how do you figure out what you're going to price your items at? I feel like you'd probably be pretty attached to a creation that you make.
Absolutely. You know, I spent a lot of my life sanding, so that takes a lot into account. But you know, there's different, you know, you factor in your time, your materials, all that, and you kind of, after a few years of doing it, you can kind of gauge where the market is as well, right? Because, you know, at this point in the game, everybody has a charcuterie board at home of some sort.
Right.
Not everybody has a great charcuterie board at home. So there is a way to kind of differentiate in that way.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
Now, don't go anywhere. We will be right back with Kim from Mapleworks Designs.
This program is brought to you by Ignite TV. Now you're in command. Visit Rogers.com for more details.
What is sustainable cooking? Sustainable cooking is knowing where your food comes from, finding your local farmers, sourcing out that food, bringing it back to your kitchen, and cooking it efficiently the way the Ontario farmer wants us to. I'm Chef Connie Powers. Join me each episode as we take you to a local farmer and let them tell you their story. Like I said, it's going to be a good season. Join us on Rogers TV.
For 25 years, you've been helping to make our roads safer by doing the right thing. You've been the designated driver, you've stayed over, called home, you've called a cab or a friend, and planned ahead. Let's keep doing the right thing. Support sober driving by getting yourself and your friends home safely.
Do the right thing.
Visit ArriveAlive.org to find out more. Arrive Alive. Drive sober.
This is Rogers TV.
Welcome back to Modern Business, the show that bridges the gap between the viewer and the entrepreneur or market maker. Today we are joined by Kim of MapleWorks Designs. Now Kim, before the break we were talking about your pricing structure and how you figure out how to price your pieces. Now I kind of want to talk about the nitty-gritty of your business. And with that, obviously, more recently than not, you made the jump into making this your full-time career. With that, what has been your biggest challenge so far?
Well, I didn't go to school to run a business. That's, that wasn't part of the plan. So all of a sudden, you're wearing all these hats, and you're wearing the hats every single day.
Right.
So it's really coming down to time management and plotting things out, and really getting micro about your schedule, the details of everything. That was definitely the biggest one. I actually took a course in 2021, a business course, with a business coach who really helped streamline my business leaps and bounds. So there was different segments, and the one I got the most out of was definitely time management.
Let's talk a little bit about this course with the business coach, because I think one of the things, especially a small business owner, because you're investing so much of your personal funds into something, it can be really hard to invest in yourself.
Absolutely.
And I imagine that investing in a business coach was a huge step for you. So can you talk a little bit about that? Was it scary? Was it exciting? How were you feeling when you decided to do that?
That decision took me about 1.5 years to make.
Okay.
I had connected with a few business coaches, and just nothing felt right. And then when I finally did, the first week in the course, it paid for itself.
Really?
And I was kicking myself. Like, I should have done it that much sooner. Because it is, it's scary. You're not putting the money into machinery or materials. You're putting it into you. But really, that's what you should do right off the hop. Invest in yourself so you keep growing. Don't stop learning. So that was, I'm so happy I made that decision. And like I said, I wish I would have done that sooner.
Definitely.
Yeah.
It sounds like you were dabbling in it with the talking to the other coaches. Now, did you take the approach that you were auditioning these business coaches, or? Yeah,
in a way. And I wanted to make sure that we had a good connection. I wanted to feel good, a good energy between the two of us. If we're going to be working that closely, and they're helping me with the number one thing in my life, which really, the business is my life. It doesn't turn off at the end of the day, right? So I definitely wanted to make sure I found the right person to work with.
And let's talk about the business not turning off.
Right.
Being a entrepreneur, a solo operation.
Yes.
Having a personal life can probably be a little bit difficult.
Absolutely.
How are you tackling that balance?
Some days are better than the others, for sure. It's definitely been an adjustment in the last couple of years, and I probably pick work more often than not.
Okay.
But I feel like there is a sacrifice to it. So if working every weekend in a month, then it gets me that much farther and gets my name out there that much, then I'm okay with that. Then and I can meet up with friends. I'll say next month, and I'll say okay, here's a weekend. I'm going to go visit so and so and so.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So it's not a 50-50 split, but you're
No.
making it work for you in whatever season you're in, let's say.
Yeah.
So when it comes to the growth and the demand in the building, where do you see your business going in the next couple of years? Do you have an idea for your growth or development?
Absolutely. I would like to have definitely a bigger shop, because right now I'm in a small space, so room is always something I want more of. So I'd like to have a bigger shop for sure, and a little storefront, whether it's for finished goods or also raw materials. So I distribute epoxy now as it is.
Okay.
Some of the finishes as well pigment. So I'd like to help other makers because, I remember going to different stores and going to all the different stores and, okay, this place has the best price for this, and this place is great for learning this much. Well, I want to be that person too for somebody that's starting out. So I definitely would like to have a space just for MapleWorks Designs So a shop space and then a storefront as well.
And do you have a specific area that you'd like to build your business in?
It changes every day. I mean, Uxbridge would be great because I love Uxbridge. I fell in love with the town. But you know, there's some little spots outside of Uxbridge. Port Perry is great too. Mount Albert is great. I don't want to go somewhere big yet.
Right.
But definitely local.
And with the development of this future storage space, have you ever considered going into teacher mode and maybe teaching people how to make your live edge charcuterie boards or something of that nature?
Absolutely. There's a lot of people that do courses right now, you know, whether it's a 1 day or 2 day weekend course to do an epoxy board. That would be so much fun. That would definitely be something I would do if I had more space. Absolutely.
Very cool. Yeah, it just sounds like you're in that realm of possibilities because you're going to be distributing products, you're making products, you know, perhaps you merge the two.
Absolutely, yeah. I came from a training and development background. That was what I really, really loved doing. So there's no reason why I wouldn't want that to continue. Yeah.
Now let's talk about what you really, really love doing.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite product of yours that you make and you could make all day long and it wouldn't be anything to you?
Epoxy coffee tables are a lot of fun.
Okay.
They're not too big so that I can't move them, because when I get into the, you know, the 8 or 9 foot dining tables, that's a lot for one person.
Sure.
But epoxy, there's so many options and there's so many possibilities you can do with it, and then pairing it with the right wood, and you know, is it kind of a rotted wood, so there's more spots for the epoxy. It's really a lot of fun, and you really get to kind of let your creative flag fly.
And when you mention a rotted piece of wood, there's room for epoxy. I hear a rotted piece of wood.
That's it.
How do you make that wood functionable for food or other things? Are you coating it with certain stuff? Or?
So back to all that sanding, after all that's done, you get chemical-free finishes is what I mainly use, and it's great because they're Ontario made as well. And a few coats of oils and waxes, it becomes food safe once it's cured. Yeah.
And do you have a certain standard or a guideline that you follow for food safe products, or is this something that you've trialed and errored to figure out the grade?
So I've tried pretty much every brand out there.
Okay.
And yeah, I take, you know, food safety very seriously.
Of course.
So yeah, I will only use certain brands and certain types of finishes too. So, you know, sometimes when someone says, "Oh yeah, I got this board and you know it's got spray shellac on it," it's like, "Oh no, I'll just fix that for you."
Oh,
because you just never know, right? And it's one of those things you don't know until you know. So if you're gifted a board, you don't know where it's come from or how it's been finished, and sometimes it's not always finished with the cleanest products.
So when you say, "Oh, I'll fix it for you," are customers coming to you saying, "I have this board, can you make it better?"
Yes, absolutely.
Really?
Yeah, I've refinished a lot of boards, a couple tables. Yeah, there was a big boom during the lockdown where a lot of people were trying, which was great. You know, there's a lot of room out there for everybody, and everyone should try it because it's a lot of fun.
Okay.
But maybe, you know, they jumped in a little bit too quick and didn't do the research on the products. So maybe something twisted and warped, or, you know, kind of.
Got it.
Yeah, kind of got carried away, and then, yeah, I fixed them after that.
So let's say I have one of those 9-foot tables that you mentioned earlier. Are you coming to my house to help me fix it, or am I bringing it to your shop, or is that a product that you would be like, maybe it's a little too big for me to fix?
It's totally dependent on the situation. You know, if it was something where I really connected with it, and you know, they really wanted that to happen, they wanted me to fix it, then I would find a way to make it happen, and I'll take it back to my shop and clean it up and put my touch on it and bring it back.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. Now, speaking of putting your touches on things, I've seen some unique work from you, whether it's been on social media or in this room right now. And I know the board to your left is a charcuterie board with resin, but it has coffee beans in it.
Yes.
Talk to me about that process. Why coffee beans? And what else are you putting in your resin?
So you can put pretty much anything in resin now. There's better ways to do it. So this board actually took 3 different pours. So you pour the base layer, that sits, and then you mix up some epoxy and then put the beans in it.
Okay.
And then let that sit and settle because there's so much air trapped in them. Sometimes you can go out there and see epoxy boards that have stuff in it and you'll notice so many bubbles. Well, that's just because they haven't let the air pop out of it, essentially. So then once that cures, then the next coat goes on. And coffee beans, because it's so popular, I can't keep these things in stock.
Really?
So, yeah. So.
As an avid coffee lover, I have to say it's really drawing my eye.
Yeah.
Absolutely. What else are you putting in your boards?
I've got one that has Sour Patch Kids. Yeah, I've got old nails, like the square-headed steel nails.
Okay.
I've done some coasters with that. I've done some coasters for breweries, so I've put hops and different materials that they use to make the beer in the
That's
coasters. Yeah, there's all kinds of stuff you can.
So basically, whatever your client comes to you with, you can essentially look at their life and then incorporate a piece of their life into one of your designs.
Absolutely, yes. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
What has been the most out of the box thing you've created? Is there something you've done yet?
Out of the box. Something that really touched me was someone brought ashes from a family member, a dog.
Okay.
And wanted that put into a board, but it was like, it wasn't front and center, but it was just, they asked me to just put a little pocket of it in epoxy on the underside. And then I put a paw print on it, and so now they have that little bit with them, and because they travel a lot, and I guess it's a thing with their friends, they always take a charcuterie board around where they go. So
that is so
that was
lovely.
really nice, yeah.
And when we talk about carving things like paw prints, and on this board here, I see a map of the lake.
Yeah.
How are you chiseling this? How are you doing this?
No, I can't take credit for that. I just do the design portion. So that's done on a CNC machine.
Okay.
So what that does is it carves it out. So I create the design for it, and essentially the program that tells the machine where to go, and then I put it in there, and it carves it out, and then I fill it with epoxy.
So do you have Photoshop or Illustrator experience, or how are you creating this design?
No, that was all troubleshooting myself, and
Okay.
yeah, I learned that on the go.
And then you made it happen.
Yes, absolutely.
I love that.
Yeah,
You're
yeah.
definitely a self-driven entrepreneur.
That's right,
Which
yeah.
we love to see. So with that, do you have kind of a trade tip or trade tips for our audience today? These are pieces of advice that somebody's given to you, pieces of advice that you like to give others, or just a general tidbit of business information that you feel the audience could benefit from?
Absolutely. We all know ready, aim, fire. I go fire, aim, ready, because we've all done it. No matter what it's in, I'm going to wait for this to happen. I'm going to wait for this sign. You're just going to wait.
Right.
Instead, do it. Take that action. Fire, aim, ready, and you'll find that if you take the action, take steps towards whatever that goal is. Aim. You can set those goals. Be specific about them. And then you'll be ready. And I've found that's how MapleWorks went full time, was because I went fire, aim, ready instead of, oh, should I do this, should I not?
Yeah.
And
I love
yeah,
that.
yeah.
I think that is great advice, because you're absolutely right. You need to take the first step, and you need to believe in yourself.
That's right.
And just like you did, you have to invest in yourself.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's awesome.
Yeah, thanks.
So if people want to learn more about you, see some of your content, or get in touch with you to purchase some items, where do they go?
MapleWorksDesigns.com.
Okay.
MapleWorks Designs on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, across all the socials.
Love that.
Yeah.
And in the future, we can be prepared to see more content from you. You
Absolutely.
scheduling your content days?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I'll get in front of the camera more often. Yeah.
Love to see it.
Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining
Thank
us
you.
today. This has been another edition of Modern Business. I'm your host, Taylor Bursey, and we'll be back next time.
Connect with us by visiting our website or email us at comments@rogerstv.com.
It's Wednesday night hockey.
The ultimate midweek